Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the New Jersey Film Festival Spring 2023 Filmmaker Interview Series, Q&A series. We've been doing these for the last 3 years, and it's wonderful to be able to meet so many wonderful filmmakers. We'll be holding the 41st biannual New Jersey Film Festival between January 27th and February 19th, 2023. On select Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. Now, our festival is still a hybrid festival, which means we'll be screening films online for 24 hours on their show date. And it will also be doing in-person screenings, many times with the filmmakers there, where there'll be a live Q&A session with the filmmakers and sometimes the cast and the crew as well. And the screenings that are in person will be either at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. on their show dates in our state-of-the-art facility, which is Voorhees Hall, room 105, which is located at the beautiful campus of Rutgers University at 71 Hamilton Street in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Tickets for each program is $15, and that includes where you can watch it online and in person. And we had a number of people that actually did that. They would watch the film during the day, and then they would come in the afternoon or late afternoon or early evening and check out the live screening on our big screen with the filmmakers. And they would be really knowledgeable about the film and ask really great questions to our visiting artists. So hope you can check us out. I'll show you how to buy tickets at the end of the Q&A, but you can always go to our website, which is njfilmfest.com, click on where it says current events, and then hit the red button, which says tickets info for the Spring 2023 New Jersey Film Festival. Today, we have the maker of Junho, which is a wonderful feature film by David Boo. And he is right now outside of Seoul, South Korea. So I've got him up late in the evening in a late Thursday, post-Thanksgiving weekend doing this taping. So thank you so much for joining us, David. And it's really nice to meet you.
Thank you, Al. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, the generic question to ask any filmmaker is, how did you end up deciding to make this film? And tell us a little bit about the process.
The birth of this film started from the actual event that happened in South Korea, which was early 2018, the Me Too scandal, which rocked really hard in the stage, the theater circle, more than the movie industry compared to Hollywood. And the main actor, Won Jin, who played Juhno, was a part of like one of the most prestigious acting troupe in South Korea. And I've known Won Jin for very, very long time, almost 6 to 7 years right now. And at that time, after his acting troupe got caught in the scandal of the Me Too, like their headmaster, or however you want to call it, the one who has the biggest power, Won Jun, being a bystander, was struggling a lot with different mixed emotions. And myself being a very close friend to Won Jun, I was able to hear and learn a lot about like other bystanders' perspectives, which eventually became like the first draft of Juhno. And at that time, I actually wrote the draft almost like writing a letter to Won Jun, the main actor, to try to find and navigate a way, like what is our position in society in circumstances like this as a bystander. Because when such tragic incident happen in specific those like small, very exclusive community or work environment, the way I felt and what I've experienced, what Won Jun experienced, it's like that like 80 to 90% of the people in that circle are most of the times bystanders, because it's very easy to point out the perpetrator, that's the bad person, and of course it's very tragic to see what happened to the victims. But those are like 2 or 3 or maybe more just dots that you can point directly to, but there's a lot more to think about. So having that concept, that's the way that Juhno has been developed. And process-wise, so the moment that I started writing the screenplay was around mid-2018, and just having a very, very long conversation with a longtime friend who's the main actor. We ended up starting shooting the production, uh, starting in Korea, August of 2019, and then San Francisco production from October 2019. And then, as we all know, 2020 COVID, so post production was hell.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Did you finish shooting all of the scenes prior to COVID, or did you have to go back and reshoot stuff or add things after COVID started to die down?
Luckily, at least like the shooting part, the production part ended in December of 2019.
Hmm.
So I guess like the best decision that I made throughout the whole production was around like mid 2019 when, some of the crew members said like, "Hey, like let's push this project for a year. I don't think we're ready enough." And I just said like, "Nah, I don't feel like it." You
Mhm.
know,
It was a
and just
smart
went.
move. Very smart move. Well, I really like your film definitely has the narrative goes back and forth in time. So we see the lead as he is experiencing his first days at the theater troupe. And you get the sense that it's very, very hierarchical, where you have the master who is an aging fellow, but who wields his power obviously in a subtle and very pronounced way through his direct intermediaries. And I really like that opening scene because we're introduced to the two leads, and Jin, who is the female, who is the one that's abused. Was that also Won Jun's? Was that the real person that he was interacting with, or is that somebody that you created for the film?
The character of Jin, the victim, the best friend and a soulmate to Juno's character,
Right.
was more of an imaginary character. But
Mm.
uh, like I said before, the beginning of the Juno story started with like Wonju's personal experience, but
Right.
as the project was getting developed and like as more cast with different backgrounds in different acting troupes in South Korea, I was able to learn a lot more of like almost like acquiring a collective of different memories, mostly from the perspectives of the bystanders and even some of the victims as well. So that's how like Jin's character was almost like created with an imaginary sense, but
Mm.
finalized with more detailed construct.
And in the film, he imagines that she is next to him, but that's a fiction, right? That's a creation of his imagination as well. So you're not really sure when he interacts with her post Me Too moment. Is that correct? Or does he actually reconnect with her as they move forward in time?
Well, if I shot Juno more after the ending
Right,
and shown the moment, whether Jin visits Juno to
right.
San Francisco or if Juno goes back to Korea, they would have definitely reunited and tried to create another movement with themselves.
Hmm. So that's cool. I like that because you kind of leave it open-ended in that way. I like that.
Mhm.
I also thought that the film really looked very cinematic. I mean, did you shoot digitally?
Yes, the director of photography, Nick Migan, and I shot with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. I highly recommend
Ooh,
to all indie filmmakers because it's such an affordable camera.
yeah, yeah. And
But
I mean, I'm sorry, I mean, you really feel as if you're in the presence of the action, and a lot of the handheld camera work lends you to feel as if you're part of the action
Mhm.
yourself. And I thought that that was one of the highlights. But there's no question your lead actor and Won Jun Joe, is that his
Mhm.
last name? He's just
Yes.
amazing. You can't, I can't say enough about his performance because even though he obviously is not a fluent English speaker, that the range that he has, even though he's a theatrical actor, I think he also, I wonder if he also has some other cinematic experience. Was he in any other films?
Recently, yes. He's been getting small roles in like Korean TV series and like
Mhm.
very small roles in big films here and there. but mostly his experiences rooted from the theatrical background.
Awesome. I wanted to read you some of the comments that our jury had for your film, because as you know, your film was one of the first that we selected, because usually we start watching movies in July, August, when we start getting entries. And because we get over 600, so you have to watch them. And we have like 3 different juries, and they consist of students, my interns, they're all cinema people, academics, previous winners, people who write about cinema, and media people. So it's a nice mix. And yours was one of the first ones they watched, I think, in August. And we have a judging session. And if a film scores a certain rating, that we know that we will be showing it. Just out of doing this for so long, you know that films are judged from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best. And films that score 8s and 9s and 10s, then you know that we're going to show them. So your film actually scored 8s and 1 10. And so we knew right away that we were going to show them. And I wanted to just read to the audience and to you some of the comments, because I know you haven't heard them, and it's probably make you feel good after you hear them. Great cinematography and beautiful shot composition. The story kept you interested and didn't feel stagnant. Interesting lighting in some parts. The acting was also really great. That person gave you an 8. This person also gave you an 8. This film has stunning camera work and cinematography. The lighting in this film is particularly beautiful. It's evident that they put a lot of time into location scouting, as each location has a lot of character to it. I appreciated how they slowly unfolded Junho's life, so the viewer gets a better understanding of his character. At times, I did find my attention wandering, but that's most likely a result of my overexposure to fast-paced Hollywood films. This film felt more personable and realistic in terms of acting and character than most films I have seen. This person gave you the 10. This was engaging the entire time, and I kept wanting to see what was going to happen next. The pacing of information revealed and character development is really well done. Everyone can relate to some aspect of this movie, as it deals with so many topics. That's just 3. There were 2 others. I'll send you those so you can read them. But so that's how we knew we were going to show your film. And I just wanted to say Mazel Tov, congratulations, because it's very rare for any of our judges to give a film a 10. And most films that score, lower than 7s, we don't screen them. So we want to show good movies, and we know that yours was one we wanted to show right away. I also wanted to, I definitely had this kind of Parasite vibe initially when I was watching the first scene, where it's raining and the camera's kind of slowly moving in towards the restaurant where the acting troupe is there. I wonder what you think of the new Korean cinema that's making its rounds on American screens.
I mean, whether it's the director of Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, or the director of Decision to Leave and Old Boy, Park Chan-wook, I have to admit that I'm heavily influenced by their work, because like when they were like reaching the top of the Korean cinema, I was growing up in Korea, like the 90s and the early 2000s. So even before I decided that I wanted to be a filmmaker, like my vision of like what's good, what's interesting, has been like deeply carved into almost to my like genetic system. So after deciding to be a filmmaker, I always highly respect their works, whether it's like their early works or more recent works. But I also, like, when I'm doing my own filmmaking, I try my best to like, it's good to pay an homage, but you don't want to rip off something like subconsciously. Yeah. So I do go back to their films, especially like after I create a storyboard, to make sure that I'm not just like ripping off someone else's work because I just loved it so much.
Yeah, we call it paying homage. I also wanted to ask you, how did you meet the other actors? I mean, we know the lead is somebody you've known for a long time, but you obviously have American actors, you have Korean American actors as well as Korean actors. Was it difficult bringing all these people together? How did you end up finding Jin, for example? How did she become part of the film?
The actor for Jin, Hanna, she's a good example of how I recruited a lot of like really good talented Korean actors. I asked Won Jun and Jay, who was the guy who owns the food truck in the movie.
Right, right.
I would ask my most trusted men to bring their most trusted actors and the actors that they really highly respect, and I would meet, have a series of different meetings with another reference. That's how I got to meet Hannah, who played Jin.
Yeah.
She was brilliant starting from the get go. So uh, and like even when I meet an actor or actress that I want to work with, I tend to take quite some time, at least a week, sometimes a month, to go over because like especially for a project like this or any other indie filmmaking, it just takes a lot longer, pays a lot less.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more sacrifice to it. So we all have to like really believe in it
Right.
to get to the final journey. And this being my first feature, I had to make sure that every single actresses that I work with, we all wanted to feel very comfortable with like all the members, whether it's like Koreans who just like came to the US for the very first time, or Korean Americans who are still not used to like Korean culture, and also like a lot of San Franciscan actors who are not used to working with non-English speaking actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, like most of the American actors, I look through the traditional way, backstage.com, or like any other like online website. Just post an ad and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think you got a really great bunch. I think there's a real nice flow, even to the fellow that Wonjun is living with, who's obviously from a different time, a different place, but there's still some kind of chemistry with him. And I thought that was really great. The shot that I always think of the most, which I thought was really well done by you, is, and your cinematographer, is the shot of the two shoes that Juhno sees as he's leaving the restaurant, that very first scene. And he kind of flashed back to that a few times. I think that was really pretty powerful because you don't need to see what they're doing. Everything is spelled out right there in that shot. Well, I want to say, audience has to come and see this film. I'm going to share screen now to show you how you can buy some tickets. And so this is our regular website, which is njfilmfest.com. And this is the site. This is our location, Voorhees Hall. It's a university academic building, and the theater is really a lecture hall, but it has soundproofing, high definition projection. The sound system needs to be upgraded to 5.1, but I'm working on that with the university. Right now it's still just stereo, but it still sounds good. And you just kind of go to current events, which will just bounce it back down. And you click on where it says tickets, info, and schedule. This is just basic general information. Normally our website would have had everything there, but because we've partnered with Eventive, which is one of the main streaming services we've been using since COVID broke, and that was recommended to me by other festivals that are using streaming platforms. We've used them now for, I think this is our third year using them. Yeah. And we've had no technical issues. So it's a real relief. So we're going to be screening films, gosh, all through the end of January to February 19th. And it's just on the weekends. And like I said, they'll be available online for 24 hours on that day. So on February 11th, which is when we're showing Junho, you can start watching at 12:01 on that Saturday, and you have 24 hours to finish once you start watching. Let's say you want to start watching it at 10:45 p.m. that day. You still have 24 hours to finish watching it. once you start watching. So it's 24 hours once you start watching, but you must start watching on the show date. I think it cuts out at 11:45 p.m. on the show date. But I think, David, you said you were going to come to our in-person screening, which is at 7 p.m. So there'll be a Q&A session where audience members can also interact with David directly rather than this kind of, YouTube version to kind of pique interest in the screening. But here's a shot of Junho in one of the key scenes in the movie. And so you can buy tickets just by clicking on pre-order now. You can also click on learn more, and it gives you more information about the cast and crew and the description of the film. You can also use the Back to Festival site for more information, which will bounce you to our welcome page. And the welcome page gives you basic information about the festival, the sponsors, how many films were selected, directions to the screening, sponsors. And if you do come to the live screening, you need to register your car with the university so they don't ticket you. And so I don't think anybody has been ticketed in the last 3 years, but you want to be safe and just click on this and register your vehicle. That's our welcome page. We have a film guide page that has all the films individually. So when you get to Junho, you can click on it. There's another picture, more information, and you can always go back to the festival site. Oh, why am I doing that here? We go back this way. And you can get tickets at the ticket page, which we just were on, or you can get a linear version of the schedule, which gives you big pictures and descriptions of all the films. We're actually showing about 45 films altogether because we're doing the US Super 8 Film and Digital Video Festival, which is part of the New Jersey Film Festival, a kind of smaller one that champions the old film gauge that was popular in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But this is a way to also get information. For the New Jersey Film Festival, there was, I think, 27 films that we selected. And so you're in the running for best feature, and there's only like 3 or 4 features that we show. We only are showing 3% of the movies that were sent to us. So it's a very competitive festival. We don't get as many as Sundance, but it's about the same percentage of movies that we show. So we're very proud of showing just good movies. We could show a lot of local films, but sometimes they're not that good. It's very important to me as a director. I've been running this festival for 41 years, that we show excellent films, and yours is one of them. So you should be very proud. Well, anyway, so that's our Q&A interview with David Boo, and I want to thank you for interacting with us and look forward to seeing you at our screening, and hope everyone comes to visit with David. He'll be coming from California. He actually lives in LA, so he's out in Korea for the holidays. So anyway, thanks so much, David.
Thank you. I'll see you all in February.
Wonderful.